Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, folks. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be tuning in from around the world. My name is Tyler Benster, and I'm the tech adoption lead here at Kadena Eco. I have my walkout hoodie on, the special K hoodie, and I'm getting hyped this morning because we have a really special guest today in Eucalyptus Labs for our AMA. Just briefly on Kadena Eco. Kadena Eco is the catalyst for growth in the Kadena ecosystem. It's the home of the $100 million grants program for builders, where we work to help facilitate and accelerate projects that are building on Kadena, what we see as the most innovative layer one blockchain out there. I think we have a lot of fun, excitement going on in the blockchain ecosystem here today. And we have a ton of builders that we're trying to highlight as we go through these YouTube AMAs. So really stoked to dive in more to Eucalyptus, hear a bit more about their background, what they've been up to, and how they're going to help folks connect with the broader Kadena ecosystem at large. So really excited to bring up Kobe onto the stage here.
Hey, Tyler. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. How you guys doing?
Doing good. I think Michelle won't be joining for this call, but really excited to speak with you and kind of talk directly to the Kadena community out there.
Right on. Love it. So just to kind of get us started, I always like to ask first, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you found yourself at Eucalyptus and with us here in the Web3 space.
Absolutely. So Eucalyptus is a really new company. We started about 6 months ago, and most of us come from the same team working on a big multi-coin product together. Some of us dating all the way back to 2016, 17. So we've been in crypto for a really long time. And I'm really excited to have a very, very experienced team behind me and next to me as we build on Kadena. So it's been a bit of a journey kind of assembling the full team. But like I mentioned, we've been working together for so long that after individually kind of collaborating on projects for a really long time, we decided it was really the best time to set all of our skills and unleash our potential onto one single focus, one blockchain. And that was decided to be Kadena for so many reasons that I won't bore everyone at home with about the unlimited scalability and crazy technological promises.
Wow, that's amazing. So Kobe, I want to dive into a lot of what you just said here over our next half hour or so. But first, I just wanted to say that we're already seeing community show up to this live stream. So just some shout outs from CryptoHead, Jacha, we got Jay Kasana, Kadena Ecosystem, The Real Stagger Roach.
I gotta say, we're a bit biased. We've been playing around the community trying to help things grow for a while, so we might have some shills in the chat, but I don't think there's anyone giving us softball questions. You can ask us the tough ones.
Love it. So yeah, I bring up those comments as a way of just letting everyone know that are here on the streams that we're monitoring, we're listening, and we'd love to get questions up here as they come in. So please feel free to comment if you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever you're maybe watching or we're watching, and we want to make this as interactive as possible and get questions answered and help drive that conversation. So we'd love to make it interactive, and feel free to post comments or questions as they come up. But in the meantime, I got the stage, so I get asked fun questions, and I'm really stoked to hear more about your backstory, Kobe, and what prior experiences have kind of guided you towards working at Eucalyptus now.
Yeah, so my blockchain experience and really getting into different small communities started back in 2013, 14. So I was a bit shorter back then. I'm on the younger side, so I was really growing up with blockchain as this new industry. But I had been obsessively working and playing in Minecraft of all games since about 2008, 9, or whenever the beta was really going live. So I was in this gaming server. I was with all these tech enthusiasts who were really excited about different things being built, like mods and just in a small gaming community. And I saw that really expanded to crypto in 2013 and 14 when I got into Dogecoin and Redcoin, two of the really volatile communities who were sending teams to NASCAR races and doing all different types of community efforts around the world. So I was just kind of blown away after going from gaming and seeing a bit of the network effect of having a lot of people working on a mine in Minecraft to then a lot of people working on a Bitcoin technology and kind of working together to create different things on blockchain. So I was really just kind of astonished again by the global aspect of crypto and people working on this project together. And that's how I got involved. So I started buying a little bit of Dogecoin back then. I couldn't afford a Bitcoin back then, and I definitely didn't buy hundreds or mine thousands like some of our good friends. But that's really when I got super interested and started to kind of build around the community side of Dogecoin, get into some of the moderating there, and met a lot of good friends along the way. One of the most important things around that time to me was learning that I could actually download, or at least I thought I was downloading my Dogecoin into a wallet and keep it on my phone. And I knew that that would be my own type of Dogecoin, my own ownership of my assets. And that was, again, kind of the next step after thinking, well, I'm really young. I can't even get a credit card or bank account, but I can do all these different types of financial transactions online using this new system. I think the way of accessibility is probably going to be the way that most people go. So I got really into Bitcoin and cryptos back then. I took about a 2-year pause since, markets were down and people were working on other stuff. I was just getting into high school at the time. And that's when I started working for this really big multi-coin wallet, which asked this question of how can you have a lot of different assets and put them in one place under your ownership? So that became my new obsession. I started working with them, doing some business associate type of stuff in 2016, and I quickly grew my role to lead their business development by 2018. So I'd be a bit remiss if I didn't mention my co-founder's experience here, because even though I got my start really in 2016-17 on the career side, I have 3 amazing co-founders by my side, being Michelle, Tim, and Angelos. I think the oldest dating back to his crypto work would be Tim. Tim was working on Bitcoin libraries and a website called Bitcoinium all the way back in 2011. Angelos was listening to the sound of 50 Bitcoins being mined every few minutes back on like CPUs before people were even using the graphic cards. Although again, he wasn't the miner himself, but he was in the IRC with chats with Satoshi. So I'm one of the younger faces, but we have those 10, 11-year plus experiences in crypto that have definitely shaped Eucalyptus. And finally, Michelle comes from the other side of things. She's like a marketing and community guru who's worked with LeBron James, Cardi B, who are 2 names that you know if you're in crypto or not. And so we've all been working together for, like I said, many years. And now we're working together at Eucalyptus, since it was kind of a no-brainer seeing the potential of Kadena, the potential of our work together focused on one chain. And we made it happen about 6 months ago. So here we are with a team of 12 and some really cool things cooking up.
Awesome. So we have some questions popping in the chat here. We'll get to some of them in a moment. I got 1 or 2 more questions to help frame things, but we got just a request, to drop some alpha today. We'll let Kobe enforce any boundaries he's got around rolling out things appropriately. But really excited to get more into Eucalyptus. So would love to focus a little bit more on Eucalyptus now. What's the project about? What's the team about? Could you give us a little more color for what you guys do?
Absolutely. So that big team that was together is still here, about 8 people that were at this big multi-coin wallet. And we're working with coins in their really early stages like Avalanche, Cardano, Solana, Hedera, and more, to answer a few questions on their platform of how do you integrate and really interface with their protocols. So we're already a very small team set off to accomplish some lofty goals of how do you educate millions of people about a new blockchain or protocol. And we found that we were filling in a lot of the experience and gaps in these teams of user education, of building backend technologies like different Java libraries that coins didn't build themselves. And because we had been in the field for a really long time, we had that experience and we had that vision, I guess, of how you do those things in the best ways. So the idea with Eucalyptus Labs is to take that really wide scope of working with every coin at once, answering these 3 questions, and narrow it down to answering 3 questions for Kadena. So we're on our mission to answer, how do you actually get it? How do you make sense of it and educate about it? And then finally, the use case. Where do you store it? And what do you actually do now that you've got some Kadena in your pocket? So those questions really boil down to education, acquisition, and usability. And that's what we're focused on. So to keep it a bit brief, since again, these are really big goals we're trying to solve for an entire blockchain, which means an entire global, huge community. On the education side, Kadena can be complex, both for developers and consumers. So we're attacking it on both of those sides. For consumers, we started KPN, and we worked with a community leader called Mr. Manatee, who's been awesome. And we started pumping out education about Kadena projects, about building on Kadena, and we even launched a website, kadenaecosystem.com, where you can explore the different projects. My shameless plug, you can explore the different projects and builders on Kadena. And you can even post a job there for free if you're building on Pact or looking for people to come and work on your projects. So on the other side of that education goal, we're working directly with Kadena as an excited and grateful grantee as to how we can clarify a lot of the developer documentation and provide a lot of the developer docs that don't exist. We are in a lot of different group chats where I talk very vocally and freely with the members of Kadena because, we are working for you guys, we're working for them, we're all working together, and we think transparency helps. So I won't lie that we had a lot of trouble investigating the backend technologies of Kadena, investigating where the code base was tied over from other coins and where you guys made some really huge improvements. And we just decided from day one that we needed to be understanding Pact in-house, and we need to be training up on that with our senior backend developers. And also that if the documentation wasn't out there, let's start working on it. Let's take it over and let's get in our hands. Now, thankfully, that was around the time that Kadena Eco was announced, and we were reassured that you also had this big commitment to working on the education. But that's one of the 3 ways that we're really attacking this at Eucalyptus Labs.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. I think developer education is something that's very near and dear to my heart, and something that, we've been motivating quite a bit of resources into in order to improve the documentation, the resources out there. And this is a part that community can play a huge role in too. So whether it's in terms of, literally helping with documentation, or even if it's just as simple as going on Stack Overflow and looking at, hashtag pack-lang, looking at the questions there, answering them, or coming on the builders discourse or on Discord. And I think we have a lot of, by the way, for anyone that thinks we have a discourse, apologies, I meant Discord. We don't have a discourse. So I don't want to get any DMs about a secret discourse. There's none.
No secret discourse. I was told about the secret discourse.
Oh, the secret discourse, right? Yeah, exactly. But from community, we got Koala Man just saying, just stop by to say Kadena rocks. And I'm giving you an out here because Sahal then asks, what's Koala?
What is Koala? Koala is a code name that we've been using internally, and one day something that everyone in the community will know externally to one of the products we're working on the 3rd question of usability. I won't stick to these questions too much or else we'll be doing numbers and bullet points, but we know that we can solve this issue of education and get Kadena out there. We know that we can improve the connection between people and the services where you can get Kadena, learn about it, and get it into your own personal wallet or storage facility. And the last part of that question is the usability. We know that in the past, we've worked to increase connections between crypto and applications like dApps through Wallet Connect and a lot of different technologies. We've had our hands on a lot. So what is Koala? Not trying to be a politician. Koala is a passport type of application we're working on where people can get their Kadena in one place and have it safely in one place and use it all over the internet, all over applications that are very decentralized, without having to sell away their information, data, security, anonymity, all the things that crypto users and everyday consumers are loving more and more. So as we see big tech companies like Apple and Google try to pivot towards, well, maybe not Google, but Apple pivot towards allowing users to take back their security and anonymity. We see the same thing in crypto. That's where our experience has really been. And that's what we're building with this code name Koala. So when we got into the community, we also found that there were a lot of memes and things about koalas that were already there. We love it. We're playing along with it. And I'm wearing the eucalyptus shirt since that's what they consume and that's what Koala's built on. So.
Love it. So, there's a lot to unpack there, and I won't force you to dodge too many questions. But I think that, needless to say, what you've hinted at and alluded to sounds really, really exciting. And I think that everyone in the community sees the need for some of this access and, basically making the usability story stronger. How do we lower barriers to access in the ecosystem? How do we get tools in the hands of the users? And of the Kadena army. And so, I'm personally super excited to see as codename Koala develops where things go. And I think it's going to be super exciting.
Yeah, and I want to step in here and say that a lot of the issue with crypto today, and a lot of the past issues have been about, well, people think that crypto is just for criminals, or crypto has really limited use cases. And I believe, and I think a lot of crypto users believe, that there's a ton of promise in DeFi. There's a ton of promise in NFTs. And even back in the ICO days, we're seeing that there's different ways that venture capitalists are raising money. But the issue is really bridging the gap between being your own bank and then all the new issues that arise when you are your own bank, or owning your own art and NFTs, or interfacing with all that DeFi has to offer. How do you do that without getting into a scam? How do you do that without your information phished? In the past, it was like, don't click on any emails that have malicious content, but now it's really, really difficult. It's really tricky, and everyday people are having to learn, or at least we're expecting them to learn, a whole different financial system and way to interface with these new technologies. So Eucalyptus is all about making that easier, making it more human, and putting a little bit of magic on top of the code, so it doesn't feel like you're just using DOS back in the day of writing into a computer through a text terminal. So that's the next step we're trying to take, and that's the sales pitch for anyone.
Right on. Yeah, I think you're clearly getting some hits here in community about what you're up to. Seems like some folks are diving in, doing their own due diligence, and kind of curious about what's going on. So we have a question where from a little bit of LinkedIn stalking.
All right, LinkedIn stalking. I like it.
Yeah, Kobe's co-founder of a company called Larowitz Capital, where he's still working for, according to his LinkedIn. What is the connection between this VC and Eucalyptus Labs?
Yeah, so I narcissistically in 2020 decided to bring the wits back onto my my Israeli Romanian name. So I know that the guys I think at Hypercent are maybe from around there too. But in 2020, I was really alarmed. A lot of these tech companies were blowing up like crazy to some pretty insane valuations. And a friend that I'd been working with for a while, we decided, hey, let's get some of our licensing done. Let's get our Series 65, and let's actually start making a really solid track record of all the trading we've been doing in the past years, based on really solid market thesis of finding really good names in tech, who are committed to really good balance sheet, very sticky business, and kind of avoiding the typical buzzwords and crazy trend driven markets. So that fundamental idea really came back when we were evaluating working with Kadena, because Kadena itself, the team has been around for a really long time. They have some heavy hitters, but you guys really haven't been pumping out a lot of the trendy buzzword type of news that we've seen from other chains. And when I met Will in a bar not too far from where I am now in Brooklyn back in 2019, he made a lot of promises. I think it was actually 2018. He made a lot of promises about the technology and about Kadena's approach, adverse to VC-backed coins who are kind of going all in, spending tens of millions of dollars on marketing stadiums. And he said, we're going to take it slow. We're going to really find our way to making this new type of crypto technology. And those fundamentals really synced up with what I look for when I invest in a business, which is why we decided to really focus on Kadena. So that might answer one of your future questions, but we can circle back.
Right on. Yeah, and I think there's some appreciation also for some of the great work you did with Koinami. So I just wanted to give this shout out from the mysterious LinkedIn user.
Yeah, and I want to add, I guess, two things, because I didn't want to skirt around that question. I am still working at Lazarowitz. It's a 2-person operation, and my co-founder Faizan, he actually works as the financial controller at Eucalyptus. We are still working there, managing a portfolio, though our attention is definitely on Eucalyptus and Kadena. And yeah, so that's still going. And Lazarowitz is actually the fund that also funds Eucalyptus's first roadway, as we're completely employee owned, employee funded. And that's how we're able to be so agile and move where we want to develop and what we want to work on, because we get to decide ourselves internally. So yeah,
absolutely. And I will just say that from my perspective, that folks that have the ability to be hybrid, VC or capitalists and operators, see a lot of both sides of the world. So I run a VC fund called Asimov Ventures. We were the first backer of Kadena.
You guys were early. Oh yeah, you guys were way back in there.
2017, when it was just Will and Stu. And now I help in terms of labor at Kadena Eco, of course, but I also still do some VC investing.
So I don't want to break the rules, but I guess I can ask you too. We were looking at the work that I guess Stu and Will were doing, and we saw that there were so many avenues that we could build on top of. and that they were really leaving them open. Like there was no single site where you could really go through all the Kadena projects and see your favorites and things like that. We saw that as a lot of opportunity, and we saw that as though they were waiting for those builders to come. And that's why we were also excited to jump on Kadena, because they gave a lot of room for people that weren't, working on the product itself, Kadena, to build on top. So I guess we said, screw it, let's do it ourselves. Was there any of that when you came to the project of, I'll come in there, I'll increase adoption as well? I think it's a community sentiment. People come in and want to work on the project, but I don't know if you felt that too. That's where we were.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it was, from like the kind of VC side, suddenly seeing kind of end of last year that there were so many builders coming onto Kadena, and there's this organic ecosystem growth. And yet at Kadena, because it's such an engineering focused organization, there wasn't yet the sort of bandwidth and manpower to really support so many projects that we're building. So for me, it was, as a VC, kind of looking at this and saying, wow, this ecosystem has crossed the chasm and people are coming, people are building. And now it's time to think about how do we add fuel to the fire. And so
Absolutely.
what got me really excited was this grants program, which we were working on behind the scenes from November to announcement time, middle or earlier this year. And of course, that's just the beginning. We're here to help facilitate and accelerate companies that are pre-seed and get them to the seed stage. And then, of course, as companies are sort of seed ready or Series A ready, to help facilitate and accelerate on the investment side. So I kind of view this as this amazing opportunity to say, look, we've seen that Kadena has innovated key critical technology and infrastructure and has built this amazing foundation, solving the blockchain trilemma, all the formal verification and security and features of Pact, which I view as a next generation programming language, especially for kind of more database query style access patterns. And then saying, look, now is an opportunity where we can help build out this ecosystem and foundation from the ground up and try and do things the right way, try and set a tone that, we're a collaborative, transparent environment. And of course, we've been fortunate in that the initial builders have been so amazing. And at the end of the day, the community and the cross communication that happens, in part thanks to members of these communities that are helping accelerate introductions, has just made that job so much easier. It's like amazing how many times I've tried to contact a project and be like, oh, Logo and CatX, like you guys should chat. And then it's like, oh no, but like people in the community have already made the introductions. So like, oh, what am I even doing here? Community is already doing my job for me. So huge thanks, of course, to Kadena Army. You folks are just absolutely amazing people on the stream here. What we do at Kadena Eco is a small part, and what the community does every day, 24/7, is the biggest part.
Yeah, and I think Kadena has a lot of critics, just as every other chain does. But a lot of the other chains kind of run away from a lot of criticism. And if you look at Kadena's recent hiring record, your recent community outreach, I think you've been transparent in addressing what needs to be improved and how you're going to improve it, both with your partners and at Kadena Eco and Kadena itself. So I think that a lot of people are just getting more excited, seeing a lot of community engagement come about. And like you said, those projects are working together on the back end unprompted, which is really great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So in that theme, in that gestalt, I just wanted to ask, what are some ways that Eucalyptus is helping bridge developers and projects together to increase crypto adoption?
Yeah, so bringing developers to projects, I guess the first direct way is how we're increasing visibility of Pact through documentation. We're not going to have documents ready for a little bit longer, but we're working with Hypercent and KD Launch, among some other partners, to procure documentation that is not only comprehensive on the side of a developer checking it out and getting their hands on a tutorial or a walkthrough, but also so that it's displayed in a really conclusive format with a bunch of other tutorials and knowledge bases from GameFi to DeFi, all around. So we really want to emphasize the benefits of Pact. There's a great website, Saved by Pact, that goes over a bunch of different compromised technologies. I think it needs to be updated, but it just goes over the benefits of building with Pact, which means building a bit slower and increasing your knowledge with that system. And then also bringing builders directly to projects through KPN and KadenaEcosystem.com. Go to that build page. We'll either send you off to apply for a grant with you guys at Kadena Eco, or we'll pair you up with a project that's already looking to hire pack developers. It's hard because we've got two bottlenecks. We have that projects want pack developers, and developers want to get onto packed, but they're not really sure how or where to start. So I guess the problems kind of feed each other, because you can't address one and then the other gets resolved, but you can attack it from both ends, which is what I said we're kind of trying to work on with that documentation. But because Kadena offers kind of so many to the moon improvements over, or I guess packed over Solidity and Move in other languages that have come about, it's really a much longer education process with a small community, and also applying resources more efficiently than just scattering out a bunch of money or making a centralized company do it for you, which again is the approach other firms have taken. So that's really how we see that gap being bridged, and also increasing the use cases for developers and builders. I think the number one, I guess in YC Combinator and all those startup schools, they always tell you that you can't look for the market you want to sell a product to. You got to answer a question for a bunch of people. So if there's no question to answer, if there's no people to answer it for, what can you do? So that gets our end question of use and use case, of making sure people can get Kadena and actually do useful things with it, like the basics of send, store, receive, before we start talking about the goals of DeFi and those further off things. So it's a big process, but I hope it inspires the community that we have, like I said, over a team of 12 people who have been in crypto for a long time, who are extremely dedicated to answering these questions. And they're at Eucalyptus Labs, working every day for the Kadena community. You can go and see the work we've done on KadenaEcosystem.com or EucalyptusLabs.com, since we're launching a new website there soon. So, yeah, we're chipping in.
Right on, right on. We have a question here from Yeppy about more about Kadena Core Tech, but maybe we can sort of tie this to some of the work you do at Eucalyptus too. Is there any way for Kadena to increase cross-chain transactions in the future?
Increasing cross-chain transactions in the future.
This question is really about scalability, and how does scalability work? So I think the other related question that I'll kind of lump with this is, I'll answer that in a little more detail, but maybe more generally from Anthony involved in the same event. Tell us more about Kadena's scalability and the Eucalyptus.
So I'm traditionally background of biz dev, even though I did a few engineering years in school with the mathematics and physics. So I'll try to stay away from the sales pitch. But scalability is one of the largest problems in crypto, let alone management of any organization or structure. How do you grow a company? How do you grow a network? How do you grow anything? Kadena tackles this really interestingly with their chain web and graph theory combination of solutions. But when we're talking about increasing cross-chain transactions and the technology itself, I kind of have a funny pitch to consumers, which is don't worry about it, in that we're going to handle a lot of these weirder technological differences compared to Bitcoin, where you send peer-to-peer through the same address. We're going to handle a lot of this on the back end as Kadena scales from 20 chains to even more 50, hundreds, and in the future growing at hopefully a big pace as we onboard the world to Kadena. But talking about scalability, you have the importance, you have the demonstrated use case that Ethereum and other chains, EVM chains, are super backed up. And it's similar to Kadena overall, that when you introduce a new technology that solves a big problem, you have a lot of other problems pop up. So when Kadena introduced how you're sending to all these different chains, we need a different format to specifically handle wallet transactions. And so wallets get really much more difficult. So you need to know how to handle wallet development and making it easier for consumers, which is, again, one of our focuses of how you make it extremely simple sending a transaction with this more complex scaling solution. So that's how we're trying to focus on simplifying Kadena scalability, because, again, it adds complexity to reduce a really difficult problem. But in the end, for the consumer, we really want them to see a seamless interaction of having this all in the back end.
Right on. We have a question here from Ramon Cruz. I don't know if he's got some careful monitoring or if he's just asking a more broad question, which I can take from the Kadena Eco side. But will there be an implementation with big companies that want to tokenize their loyalty program with Kadena? Do you have any light to shed on this? Otherwise, I can take this one.
Yeah, I guess at Eucalyptus, this isn't one of our biggest goals because it's a bit further from what we do on the token side of things. But I will say that in 2016-17, when we saw all these ICOs coming out, everyone was trying to put everything on a blockchain. I mean, your toaster might not need the touchscreen, but definitely doesn't need to talk to your fridge token. So we were always asking ourselves when we were working together with the same people on another team, what do tokens actually carry weight in? Where could they be super useful? And I think that a lot of projects have agreed since they've gotten started that loyalty programs are really a great place to start. I was at a conference in Chicago where I think some of the Kadena team was definitely there with me, but we were listening to a manager of a really big hotel chain talk all about loyalty points and the importance for consumers of, I guess, the impact for consumers when they get to control their loyalty points. So yeah, all I'll say is that there's so much that can be improved about loyalty programs right now. And there are so many platforms in Web 2 where you can trade your loyalty points here or there and do all these different like cross-platform transactions that I just think will be easier on blockchain, because when they're your points, the company is saying they're your points. So if they're legitimately consistent with that claim, then it kind of syncs up with the idea of blockchain that it should be your ownable. I bought a plane ticket. I have these points. They're my points. I bought that plane ticket. You don't get to control it in your backend system. So if the consumers demand it, this shift can happen, and it can be pretty seamless with crypto and tokens, since you can already do that in your wallet of holding different types of reward tokens. So that's my my take. A bit further from Eucalyptus, but good question.
Yeah, I'll just say to Ramon Cruz that I think it's good thinking, and anyone that wants to go after that as a topic area or is currently pursuing it, feel free to get in touch with me. We'd be delighted to see how we can support you. I do think that Marmalade offers some unique advantages for brands that need to have certain control over, NFTs or how permission access works. And the loyalty program is actually a tremendous example of this, where a traditional brand, might need an ability to, for example, have fine-grained access as to who can hold a particular card, or preventing transfer, for example, from one person to another, because usually you can't transfer your Starbucks reward history to another person, and so Marmalade sort of offers a lot of fine-grained tools that will help brands and companies that have particular implementation needs be supported at the standard level on the blockchain, enforced by the blockchain, rather than being a convention in the metadata that would be enforced by Rarible or OpenSea or whomever. So I think it's a really cool question, which is why I want to bring it up. But we can definitely revisit it.
Yeah, and I guess to add there two more things, so that first off, other questions that consumers have to answer when they're handling NFTs or their tokens is, how am I sending this and navigating fees? If you have a blockchain that has gas stations where that service can actually pay the fee for you, and it's free to transfer in and out and move at your will, that's huge. And that's one of the things that Kadena promises and has already implemented. That is a reason we came to develop on it, after seeing, again, from a wallet management perspective, you wouldn't believe the amount of support tickets and live chat requests we'd get just asking, what are gas fees? How do we use them? And of course, you can educate the user, or again, you can make it way easier from them with a more advanced protocol, which is what Kadena has done. And the bumper there is that corporations want to work with big names. They want to work with those who have seen the top of banking and financial institutions. Look at the Kadena team, how it's shifted over the years. Look at who's there and their connections. Those are the people who will be trusted to forge these relationships between traditional companies and these new technologies that are taking their time and doing things right, versus moving fast and breaking things a little too often. So that's, again, a word of confidence in Kadena.
Right on. So somewhat related from SXS303, from an education perspective, is it easy to pitch Kadena? What questions that you often get when discussing Kadena, and what can we do to spread the word about Kadena in a good way?
Yeah, I think I've gotten good at pitching Kadena because, again, I've grown up having to explain to people why blockchain, no, it's not actually a scam or Ponzi scheme. So I've gotten a little bit refined there. But diving into the technical differences between Bitcoin and Ethereum and Avalanche, and then adding another chain, Kadena, that'll add complexity, that'll add difficulty. But as long as you have the technologies there to point people towards, of saying, oh, it's just like Bitcoin, download this wallet and get your hands on it, that's what will break down a lot of the barriers. But if you tell someone, Kadena is like Bitcoin plus a lot of really cool features and functionality, backed by a stellar team and an amazing community. You've done 80% of the job. Then it's about how much your grandma or grandpa wants to listen about, chain sharding and sending transactions to different nodes and how graph theory works. So to spread the word about Kadena in a good way, I would suggest you try to answer the same question. How do you explain Kadena to a friend or family member? And maybe it's a good YouTube video, maybe it's a good TikTok, maybe it's a good Reddit post on another competing protocols platform about how we solve these really cool problems at Kadena. But yeah, there's so many ways to get the word out, and people in the crypto community are usually really curious and hopefully dubious of new technologies. So that's why you get hit with the hard questions, and you got to know how to answer them.
Yeah, and I do think it's an aspect of thinking about who your audience is and what is the selling point. So if I'm talking to someone that's a technical developer, I might go in and focus a little bit more about scalability, for example, and how Kadena sort of solves that scalability issue while retaining security and decentralization. If I'm talking to someone that is a VC investor that freaking has no clue as to what a Merkle root is or how crypto works, I might take a different tact and speak more about how with layer one ecosystems, there are obvious opportunities that are going to become big businesses. And Kadena, as an emerging layer one that has a tremendous amount of momentum, just has some low-hanging fruit, huge opportunities for anyone coming to build. And that's like a completely different sort of economic argument. Versus if I'm talking about someone in community, or someone that's a hodler or an investor, or kind of just looking at crypto as a way to explore Web3, I would talk about how there's all these projects now that are just starting to launch, and how if you come in and be a member of the community today, you're going to be at the ground floor of some of these initial DAOs. You're going to be on these initial mints, and you're going to be someone that's at the ground floor and able to help evangelize, but also become a key member and respected member of a community of people that's really, really passionate about. So it's a little bit about the social angle. It's potentially about upside, but I think more it's about being able to be an early member of a community and an early adopter. And so I think that as we think about those different pitches, when we talk about early adopters, it does tend to be a bit more technically focused about what is this foundation, what's the potential, what does the future look like. But increasingly, as we have really cool projects coming out, whether it's codename Koala or other things that are being worked on, we can increasingly start pointing to concrete user experience applications. And that's something that really excites me, is that the story then becomes for the early majority, hey, you want to do XYZ. It happens to be backed by Kadena, it happens to be backed by this particular blockchain, but it becomes more about what can I, the user, do and experience in this ecosystem, and less about what's underlying blockchain technology. Like if we do our job right, people won't need to know about the multiple chains. They won't even need to know too much about what blockchain is or what's happening behind the scenes. We'll just have a user experience and different projects and opportunities that are powered by Kadena, but silently behind the scenes. We don't need our name to be out there in a huge way for those. We want to make sure that the project and the applications that we're enabling are the stars. And so I think that that's something too, that as we have more projects, we can start talking about, oh, look at what Eucalyptus Labs is doing. Look at what Logo Finance is doing. Look at what all these different projects are doing. And it becomes more about, wow, if you dive into those projects, then you find out that Kadena is behind the scenes, but it's about the projects first. And so I think that that's kind of the switch that we're in the midst of making. And you can see that with these project AMAs and our Spotlight series, that more and more of our content is about the amazing builders themselves, because the stars of the show at the end of the day is what you can do with blockchain and what you can do with crypto. It's about what that utility is. And that's what's going to power this next bull run. That's what's going to power this next cycle of builders and development.
Absolutely. Each step of the way in each market has been backed by really notable technologies. You had winners from the ICO phase. You had Binance come out as one of the biggest names who did a huge ICO raise and then remained as a huge staying power in crypto. I think we saw the same thing from OpenSeas and from Rarible, from this NFT wave that came in and educated everyone on these technologies. And while some left, there were definitely winning technologies remaining. And so these waves that come in, you just need really good education and use case, and the technology will find its way as long as you can like I said, answer those hard questions. So great question.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're starting to get towards the end of our time here, but I did want to ask just one or two other questions um, about what you're up to and about kind of Kadena ecosystem in general. So first of all, since we've been talking about how to pitch Kadena and how you kind of discuss it with potential partners and such, I did want to ask what attracted you to build on Kadena in the first place.
Yeah, so like I said, I met the team of Kadena. I think it was Consensus 2018. That was when Bitcoin had taken a really big hit. People were walking around like zombies, and my meetings had gotten a little less interesting as we started to watch Bitcoin go from like 7,000 to 3,000 or something like that. Which of course now we'd buy at those prices like crazy. I met back then. I think it was Stuart. Somewhere around Consensus, and then Will shortly after. And again, these promises of unlimited scalability, of a completely different language than Ethereum entirely. Again, I was much more biz dev back then. They hit me and I said, no way. I sent it to a few mathematician friends who are way smarter than I am. One of them was at Yale at the time, and he said, this looks pretty promising, especially because they have a team that is not just freshly working on new technologies, but they've been doing this for a long time. So the technical institution side of having names and information-backed research in the white paper of Kadena and the proven technologies was huge. That's a different question, though, from what in the end of 2021 brought us back to Kadena itself. And that really centers around the opportunity of Kadena, seeing that there was a huge technical deficit that fit a lot of the questions we were asking ourselves on the team of Eucalyptus. And also the growing community. We watched Kadena grow from, I think, maybe it was 60 or 70,000 followers on Twitter now to over, I think, a quarter million, if that's not too far off. So there's so much potential for things to be built on Kadena, and we saw it as a really, really great path to get our hands back into crypto development, putting software into users' hands, and finding a really great place to build. A lot of the time, people will say, well, we were considering all these different layers to build on. We really didn't have any, deep consideration of should we go with one of the top 10, 20 chains, because since we made the decision to work in Kadena, and since we started way back in 2013, 14, myself in crypto, the trends and the markets are shifting so frequently based off of which chain was compromised, who had a DeFi hack, which team was mismanaging funds, that we were really excited to be building with people that understood the value of slow, steady development, doing things right from the beginning, and that had the foresight that these huge titans that we consider the top 5, top 4, 3 competitors in crypto right now have an extremely likely chance of being unseated by new technologies, by their own bravado and failings, just because new technologies are hard to get right. And we've seen that since in a few ways. I guess the first would be, once the market started taking a downturn, you guys announced that you were spending $100 million on your own ecosystem, which is something really far from the crypto companies who had been naming stadiums and are now like laying off workforces, right? So we were doing the same thing. We were hiring in a bear market, and we saw it as a great time to build. So all of those factors combined with the amazing tech promises of gas stations, of Marmalade, of Kuro, and much more on Kadena, that's what brought us into the fold of development here on the chain.
Right on. So I think we're about to wrap up here, but got maybe just one more community question, and then we'll give a moment for some summary thoughts. But clearly we've gotten people excited because we have Frank on LinkedIn asking, any jobs positions available?
There are jobs and positions available. future@eucalyptuslabs.com will get you right into one of our inboxes. That's future@eucalyptuslabs.com. And I think there are a few listings on Indeed or Angel Co. where you can see who we're hiring out. We are super lucky that we're not kind of a startup, since we've been working together for, like, if you do the math, we've been together for like 40 plus years of combined experience. But we're always onboarding new members to the team, or, slowly and taking our time, but who have way different experience sets than we do, whether that be front-end Flutter senior developers who are just extraordinary and come out of the woodwork, or familiar faces like our runner of the community support program, who we've been working with for a really long time. Right now, if you are a Pack developer, you can email me personally at kobe@eucalyptuslabs.com because we're looking for you. We want to work with you, and we're really excited. So go to either kadenaecosystem.com and check that build page for what's being hired in the Kadena ecosystem overall, or get in touch, since we're definitely looking for more people to join the team and build some cool tech.
Right on, right on. So just a little bit of love being shared for Eucalyptus. Every time I open kadenaecosystem.com/projects, I'm amazed to see the addition of new projects there. Also, Calendar's a nice addition. Enjoying the weekly newsletter as well. So, Kobe, thanks for everything you do for Kadena ecosystem. Thanks for everything you do at Eucalyptus to help drive some of these cool new use cases. I know we've hinted at some cool things ahead, and that people are now, no doubt, even more excited about Eucalyptus than they were before. I was just wondering if you had any closing thoughts before we part ways here today.
Closing thoughts, I want to say that we hate extending deadlines, and especially if they're public ones. So we're working on a lot of technologies that when we're ready, we'll let you know 2 weeks before, and you'll be using them shortly after. And our timelines are not in the 6 months to a year. They're in weeks at the moment. So we're really excited to be launching that Koala product soon as a passport for the entire Kadena ecosystem. We're really happy that we've made a lot of impact already at Kadena ecosystem on Twitter and the website we've launched. And there's so much innovation that Kadena is starting to bring to the chain, and Kadena Eco is starting to inspire, that we will definitely be right there with you on the front lines, bringing people to the good side. So things will take time, but we're really excited to be here, and lucky for the opportunity to talk directly with the members of Kadena. So thank you so much, Tyler.
Kobe, such a pleasure, and great to finally have you on here. I'm just so blown away by what I've seen behind the scenes about what you've been up to. And I know the community is going to be really, really excited as more and more of that is revealed in the coming periods of time ahead.
Yes, indeed. You can see we're hinting. We've had some behind the scenes between Kadena and Eucalyptus, and their team is really, like I said, you guys are like so energetic and excited for the growth that's starting to really reemerge on the team. And like I said, go check out the positions that Kadena is hiring. If you're one of the naysayers who's not as excited about that prospective future of Kadena, go check out what they're actually doing every single day, because they are making progress. They're making GitHub pull requests and push requests. And yeah, we're excited.
Right on. Well, I'll just say, Kobe, you've been a phenomenal guest. It's been a delight. And as always, I want to just give a huge thank you to the community. The engagement on the stream is amazing and makes it way more fun to be able to answer your questions and to interact with everyone. Because at the end of the day here, Kobe and I are just having a conversation with all of you. And it's such a special ecosystem to work in, because the Kadena Army is so passionate, so involved, and so intelligent in terms of doing the research and asking good questions and really thoughtfully engaging. So whether it's constructive criticism or applause or ideas, keep it coming. We love you, and thanks so much for your time. So delighted you're able to join us today.
Thanks, Tyler. Take care.
Take care, everyone.